We have an update regarding an early Sunday morning murder in Moorhead, Minnesota. Connie Jo Frank has now been charged with murder second degree. Reading from the statement of probable cause, this is the prosecutor's rendition of what happened. Quote, Sunday, 12:18 a.m., Moorhead police responded to a stabbing at 1025 3rd Avenue North in Moorhead. An injured male found at the scene was pronounced dead at 1:05 a.m. The deceased male was identified to be WWD, hereinafter referred to as the victim. Officers noted one stab wound to the victim's upper chest and abrasions to his forehead and the top of his head. Law enforcement spoke with two males who also reside at the address of 1024 3rd Avenue North. The first male, with the initials DAT, indicated he was familiar with the victim and knew him to be the ex-boyfriend of Connie Jo Frank. Indicated that he had heard the defendant and victim engaging in an argument earlier that night. The witness stated he observed a physical altercation between the two and went upstairs to get the defendant's adult son to intervene. However, when the witness returned downstairs, he observed the victim had a stab wound to his chest and the defendant, Frank, had left the scene. He then called police. The son confirmed the defendant was his mother, and he was aware that she had been dating the victim on and off for the past 5 years. The son confirmed that he had also heard the defendant and victim yelling at each other earlier in the evening and called police after seeing the victim with a stab wound to the chest. The defendant, Connie Jo Frank, later returned to the residence while law enforcement officers were still investigating the scene, quickly detained the defendant, and began transporting her to the Clay County Jail for further questioning. Frank made several unprompted statements en route to the jail, including, quote, "I stabbed his ass and I would kill him again," unquote. At the Clay County Jail, the defendant confirmed she had been dating the victim for approximately 5 years and had been recently staying at her son's residence in Moorhead. The defendant, Frank, indicated the victim had arrived at the residence earlier and was knocking on the windows. Frank stated she was tired of the defendant and that someone had to end it. Frank stated that she grabbed a knife from the kitchen counter and stabbed the victim once deeply in the chest. The victim then fled the area to hide in her neighbor's backyard. Eventually, she decided to stop hiding and return to the residence to talk with law enforcement. A kitchen-style knife was located near the scene and collected as evidence. Video surveillance evidence also collected at the scene from a nearby neighbor. On the video, Frank can be heard yelling at the victim just before he is heard screaming for someone to call 911 because he was dying, unquote. That was from the statement of probable cause. Connie Jo Frank, now formally charged with second-degree murder, a charge that carries a maximum sentence up to 40 years in prison. I'm Neil Carlson reporting for iNewZ.TV.